Elvis photos. Gonna do some reading for y'all today. Yesterday was a pretty busy, eventful day when it came to. I'll move this around a little bit here. A pretty eventful day yesterday, and we had the conversation with Derry Matera. Get this coming out of my mouth too. It's kind of hard to talk. We posted "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" An episode of Child Bride. And I believe those are the videos that we put out yesterday. We didn't get around to reading Elvis and Kathy, so that's why I'm doing it. As you can see, I got some of the mixing studio stuff on here from working on some songs. Did some Johnny Cash yesterday, some recording. I did some Elvis stuff too. I actually did some Elvis stuff. Which, if y'all haven't found my other channel, I don't post much on it. I'll probably start posting more music on it. Right now it's called Elvis and the Legends, but I'm thinking about renaming it Rare Elvis Photos, Songs of Elvis, or something like that, so y'all know where to find the music. But I did this song. Some Are You Lonesome Tonight? Yeah, y'all already know I did Kentucky Rain. I posted that on the Elvis and the Legends page. You know, there's a lot of other great artists that are out there. Nobody that compares to Elvis, obviously. And so that's why originally I kind of thought about. The Elvis song, She's Not You. I was kind of just going over some of those songs that were in the Are You Lonesome Tonight book. All right, let's get to Elvis and Kathy. Thanks to everybody that actually has been reading all of the different books. Thanks for those of y'all that left me little super thanks things. I got a couple super thanks that came in from Diane. You know, and once again, not required. It's great when it happens. It's going to allow me to buy more books down the road and helps the family out. So if y'all can afford to do it, do it. If you can't, don't. Let's do some reading, okay? Oh, by the way, shout out to Lewis. I hopped on his live. He's doing some reading right now too. You know, and once again, we don't have to compete with each other. These channels. A lot of times, there's battles going on from channel to channel to channel. You know, if you want to subscribe to Lewis's channel and subscribe to mine, great. If you don't want to subscribe to mine, unsubscribe, you know. Somebody thought that maybe I was losing subscribers over reading some of those books, and I'm actually not. I'm gaining somewhere between 30 and 50 subscribers a day. So, once again, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Let's just keep it real on what I feel, you know, and what I want to read. And I hope that y'all are getting some good information out of all of these books. When I cross-reference Elvis and Kathy with Are You Lonesome Tonight, the reason why I do that is because they were both released in 1987, which tells me if there's two things similar in each book, that must be a truth. That's part of the reason why I do it. And somebody got mad, well, a little upset. Or maybe I just had a suggestion. I don't want to say mad or upset. That I stick to the book, that I don't compare one to the other. That's why I do it, and just in case you weren't aware of that. All right, so let's we might be starting a page behind from where we were before, but I like to kind of read a little bit, get started, like a little head start. We're actually going to take it back to where maybe a page behind where we stopped when Elvis was talking about decorating the house in green, and Linda interjected and said, "But honey, we just redecorated in green, blue and green." "Oh my God, I lost my mind," he laughed at himself. "Elvis, you got so many homes, you can't even keep up with them," I teased. Yeah, well, this is not all green. We should have it all in green." Green was a healing color that he wanted to have the house in so everybody could heal and rest. Anyways, after this long afternoon of reading, swimming, and sitting in the sun, I was really tired and my hair was a mess, all curled up from the humidity like it always was in Memphis. All I could think of was to get back to my room at Howard Johnson's to freshen up and get some rest. However, I was going out the door and I heard Elvis upstairs hollering, "Charlie, get Kathy. I want to take her over to Kangaree's. A lot of people were around and heard him and saw me, and so I just whispered, tell him I'm gone. So I went out the door and somebody gave me a ride back to my room. It wasn't that I didn't want to go, but I was just too tired from the entire day's activities. I had a way of feeling that way after a long period with Elvis because Elvis was so energetic. And here's something I know too. When you're around somebody that you respect, that you want to impress, you are always at your most attention. You're like riveted, listening to every word. And that takes a lot of energy out of you. Anyway, as soon as I walked into my room, I noticed my answer phone light blinking away. Call Graceland right away, Kathy. Urgent. Well, I had to call them back, and when I did, they told me he was already on his way to my motel. Like it or not, I was off to karate class. I already knew Kangaree. He was wonderful, sweet, and a gentle man. He was a master and a champion kicker. Elvis had great strength in his high kicks, which he had learned from Kangaree. I watched Elvis exercise daily in Vegas or on the road, but this was a treat, watching Elvis leading this class of about 20 guys. Their martial arts display was exciting, and something about it actually frightened me, and yet the grace and beauty thrilled me as if it were a dance. It's been my observation that most of the people who achieve a degree of greatness in this art possess an intriguing combination of mighty power and an extended awareness. The resulting self-confidence allows them to remain serene and calm while doing it. Y'all can tell I'm still a little under the weather. Whatever. We all get that way, right? After the workout, Elvis finally allowed me to go back to my room, shower, and change before rushing back to Graceland for dinner. So much for rest. I'd like to point out that Elvis, karate, became as important as an expression as his singing. It was another way to create, incorporating its movements into dance. It kind of became a way of life, giving him an extended awareness, a sense of security, and also in being able to defend himself and eyes in the back of his head. It improved his athletic prowess and mental alertness. Whenever a free moment presented itself, regardless of where it was, there loomed the possibility of an explosion of instantaneous chops in the air, yells, and kicks in the wind. Elvis often entertained his friends by offering demonstrations of his newest karate moves. Most of the time, his target would be one of the bodyguards who readily volunteered. However, on this day, Elvis ordered, come here, get over here, Kathy. He stood me in the center of the room and suddenly knives were flashing all around me. He had a sardonic smile when he said, now let's see how cool you can be. Obviously, the object of this exercise was to wave the knives as quickly and as closely to the target as possible without touching it. Kathy said, but I was the target. The subject is supposed to stand perfectly still without blinking. Fortunately, I was frozen with fear and I couldn't move anyways. If I had, I would have been sliced and diced and served for lunch at Benihana's. Elvis kept a room at Graceland for his daughter Lisa. The first time I met Lisa Marie was when she was 5 years old. I was dating Jerry Schilling at that time. What in the world? I didn't hear that. Has anybody out there heard that? And where did you hear it from? Because I don't know if she was dating Jerry Schilling. Now here we go. It makes a little sense. In this last section that we read, remember Elvis had brought Jerry Schilling and Kathy Westmoreland together when they both had breakups. Jerry's wife had left him, or they divorced, or something like that, and then Kathy, the guy asked her to marry him, and she said no, and then he married somebody else 2 or 3 days later. So I guess it makes sense, but I'd never heard Kathy Westmoreland and Jerry dating. Interesting. And of course, if you don't have the book Elvis and Kathy or haven't read it, maybe this is the only source on that. All right, so I was dating Jerry Schilling at the time, and that's when Lisa Marie and I were the closest. Every time she came to Las Vegas, she made sure she called me as soon as she got in, and we made arrangements to go various places. One of her favorites was Circus Circus, which was fine with me because it was fun to see her enjoy herself. I remember one time we had the photo buttons made with her pictures on them, and she gave me her photo button and I gave her mine. By the way, I still have the photo button Lisa Marie gave me of herself. She was one of the first youngsters I ever took a liking to because I really hadn't been around too many children at that time. She would come backstage to see me and play for a long time with my makeup, and it was one of her favorite things to do. Well, one day, Elvis received a message from Priscilla telling him to keep Lisa away from makeup because she was marking up her face, and she was also marking up the walls of the house. Lisa was important to me in my life because she was so refreshingly candid, and I found her amusing and very bright. When we were at Graceland at the same time, we really spent a great deal of time together because I would get bored sitting around and watching television and football games. I'd find Lisa, and we would ride around on the golf court, or we would read or go up to her room and play. We played with dolls, and we did a lot of pretending. She liked for me to make up stories, and I really enjoyed that. Well, once I made up a story that frightened her in the movie room downstairs. I'd forgotten now what the story was, but it scared her, and she started to cry. That was unusual, and I really knew I had overdone it that time. Lisa ran shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, help me, I'm scared." Elvis picked her up, squeezed her, and softly said, "It's all right, baby, it's all right." "I'm afraid I frightened her with a story," I admitted. He smiled and assured Lisa, "It was only a story, just make believe." Then he turned to me, "Well, Kathy, I guess you're going to have to stop telling her spooky stories. They're real to her, boy." He shrugged his shoulders, amazed at his daughter's seriousness, and shook his head. "Isn't that funny?" he said. It was one of those moments every parent has at one time or the other. But we had the most fun riding around in golf carts. We'd ride around the grounds, and Lisa would yell at the fans climbing over the walls with cameras, "No pictures, no pictures." She was so young, and she was already telling people not to take her picture. She had been taught that by her mom and dad, who feared kidnappers for good reason. She had a bed in her room shaped like a hamburger with a canopy that Elvis had picked up for her somewhere. It was really a kick, and Lisa Marie loved that bed. Elvis had always promised Priscilla that he would get Lisa to bed at an early hour, but he rarely did. She would be up way past midnight. When he was on stage, she sat in the booth and watched her daddy perform. She was never on the road with him that I recall, but sometimes she would fly in to be with him on the last show of the tour and then go back to Graceland with him. Whenever I took Lisa from either Graceland or the hotel in Las Vegas, Elvis always sent someone along with us because there was a lot of kidnap threats at the time, and she knew it. Down in the movie room one day, as we settled in our chairs to read a story, she said, "I can't be kidnapped down here." Which is sad. Elvis couldn't help it, but you're going to tell your child, be alert, especially when it's a serious kind of thing. It was as if she had found a place where she really felt safe down there. Elvis adored her and was always so sweet with her. She could have easily turned out to be a brat because she wasn't as disciplined as many children and probably got away with more than other kids would have, but she was never rude and didn't talk back or act important. She was precocious, and she had a strong mind. Sometimes she might say, "I don't want to eat dinner right now. Let's go for a golf cart ride." But she wouldn't fight you to the end on anything. You could actually reason with her. And she gave me things too. Always trying to give me something, just like her father. She gave me some of her little costume jewelry, and she was always trying to give me things I wouldn't take. When Lisa insisted that I take a stuffed koala bear, I took it downstairs to Elvis. "Look at this," I handed it to him. "Your daughter's just like you, giving things away. Please take this and give it back to her. You can just put it up in her room later." He shook his head, and he shot me a determined look, and he pointed his finger. "I hope you learned by now. You better just take it." She had the same giving spirit that Elvis had. She really seemed more like Elvis than Priscilla, even the way she talked, very quickly and to the point. Priscilla seemed just reserved and quiet. Now, Lisa broke me up when she said, just as often as Elvis did, "Lord have mercy on his poor old soul." Little children often take a liking to a certain person, and for a while, I happened to be that person for Lisa Marie. She used to listen for certain songs that I was featured on, and she would come back to my dressing room after a show and say, "I heard you singing. I like that high note. Can you do it for me now? Will you do it again next show?" By the way, at that time, Lisa Marie had a favorite song that I sang, and she wanted me to do it all the time. I can't remember what it was for certain now, but I think it was "What Now My Love" or something. Her favorite song that Elvis sang was "I'm Leaving." I think she liked the sound of it more than the lyrics, because it went up to a high falsetto, almost a yodel, and she really got a kick listening to Elvis do all those vocal acrobatics. If Lisa got into Vegas in the morning, I might be asleep until noon or early afternoon, because I never got to bed until nearly dawn. By the time I got up, I would have 5 or 6 messages from her. She wouldn't want to do shopping or go somewhere else, and she'd want me to come up and play. She was always so full of plans. Lisa really had a few little playmates around. One day, Jason Fike, who was Lamar Fike's little boy, was there. That's the only time I remember seeing her with any other child. Lisa and Jason and I were all outside checking on bugs on the front lawn under the huge oak trees, and little Jason looked up and saw Vernon driving up the driveway in his new silver Cadillac. "Here comes Vernon," he said. "I guess he's proud of his rich son, ain't he?" Well, Jason was only 8 years old at the time. Lisa did sing quite a bit, and she loved to hear Elvis sing. She wasn't shy and loved to take her bows when she was introduced to an audience. The bodyguards were kind to her, but they didn't really spend much time with her either. Linda Thompson was the only girlfriend of Elvis that I ever saw really taking care of Lisa Marie. I don't think Elvis would let her be exposed to some of his casual sweethearts. Perhaps he thought it would confuse her, and I'm sure she was confused enough just by the lifestyle Elvis had to lead. I remember playing with her in her room at Graceland one day when she called downstairs and ordered up food for us. She jumped up saying, "I feel like watermelon." So she got on her little phone and called downstairs, "2 large slices of watermelon, please." She occasionally asked for ice cream to be sent up. It was once in her room when she asked me the strangest and perhaps the saddest question. When out of the blue, interesting, she looked up and said, "Are you out of marriage?" I think I answered her by saying I'd never been married, so I couldn't very well be out of marriage. Like most children, because of their innocence and frankness, Lisa did embarrass me at times. I remember it was at Graceland, and I can't recall if I was just visiting there or on a recording session or what. Lisa, in front of everyone, said, "I want Kathy to go with you, Daddy." Aww. She wanted me to ride with him in the car. I think that might have had something to do with what happened later that really upset me. 1 or 2 of the bodyguards suggested to Elvis that I was just playing with Lisa a great deal because I wanted to get to him. Lisa came to me a little later in Vegas and said, sounding very emotional, "I can't play with you anymore." I said, "What's wrong?" I never really got a clear answer, but I assumed that she was under orders to stay away from me. I got the word through the grapevine that the bodyguards had gotten to Elvis and put that thought in his mind, and I was really hurt, and it hurt Lisa too. She cried, and I felt the entire thing was just too tacky. I never talked to Elvis about it because it was just so silly. Kathy, you should talk to Elvis about it. But seriously, come on. I mean, I get that. I mean, if that was something, it might not even been something that Elvis ordered. The bodyguards could have lied to him and said, "Kathy's bothered by Lisa. You know, we should probably have Lisa stay because she's really taking up a lot of Kathy's time. And she doesn't want to hurt your feelings, but, you know, maybe that's what a bodyguard, one of these guys that didn't have Elvis's back and that were jealous or whatever, maybe that's something that was told to them, and then Elvis responded. If it was Elvis that told Lisa to not play with her anymore, you got to have clear communications. I mean, I know you probably now you wish you did, but you put in here, "I never talked to Elvis about it because it was just so silly." It's not silly. It involved a little girl. It involved your relationship with Elvis. That's not silly to me. these grown men were always so jealous, and they were continually doing this kind of thing. I sure didn't need Lisa to get close to Elvis. It was just so stupid, and it was painful, and I've never forgotten it. And I never saw much of Lisa after that. That's part your fault, Kathy. I'm sorry, but you know, you're not 10 years old like Lisa, or 9 or 7 or whatever. You know, you're an adult. You needed to go to Elvis and talk about this. Right? As soon as that happened, Lisa said, I can't play with you anymore. Straight to Elvis. That's my opinion. I keep wondering how these bodyguards could do that to a little girl who was really pretty lonely at times and needed all the friends she was allowed to have in that goldfish bowl experience. That's the end of the chapter. I do have to say once again that she really should have talked to Elvis. I mean, I don't know what year this is, but I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know. I can't even tell. I don't know whether this is 76, 77, 74. She talks about Linda in there, about how Linda was the only one that she saw taking care of Lisa and playing with her and loving her. I don't think she was around much with, like at Graceland when Ginger was there. And Ginger's a whole nother story. I need to buy the Ginger book and read it. I've got my own opinions, which I haven't really shared completely, about Ginger and the whole relationship and how serious it was or how not serious it was. I mean, anyhow, thanks for enjoying. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining me. That's what I meant to say. Another episode of Elvis and Kathy. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will do probably a From Here to the Great Unknown. It's been a couple days since we've done that. Read where we left off. And perhaps more Are You Lonesome Tonight. Continue with that story. If I can get around with it. It's Sunday, so if I don't get back on here today, have a wonderful day. And if you do join me later, then I'm looking forward to it. All right, TCB TLC. A little bit of music here, maybe, for the comments.